الدكتور المناع بمحاضرة عنوانها Grammatical Equivalence Translating Tenses، والأستاذ جواد المعارج في موضوع تحت عنوان Morphology and the Impact on Meaning. Its Impact on Meaning. فنرحب بهما ونعطيهم الدور لعرض المحاضرة، ومن ثم راح يكون هناك مجال للمناقشة. شكرا.
And what is grammar? Equivalence, by its dictionary definition, means something that has the same thing, the same value, equivalence, equal value, the same value, the same meaning, the same color, the same size, and so on. So the key word here is the same. So when we talk about equivalence, we talk about something similar. We don't talk about something identical. And to be honest, this is in line with many scholars. Suzanne Basnet, 1980, and also Juliana House, 1977. And such a claim or such a conclusion has encouraged many people to suggest that it is better in translation studies to replace the concept of equivalence with something else. So Gott, 1996, suggested that this term needs to be replaced with something called translation resemblance, taqrib. Why? Because whatever we do, we cannot have optimal equivalence. We cannot have full equivalence. And this is in line with another theory called the theory of indeterminacy, proposed in the 1960s by Quine. He said as long as we have more than one translation for a word, for a text, for whatever, this means we don't have equivalence. So here, this is the equivalence. But the question that jumps into mind when you say equivalence, somebody might say equivalence in what? Because we have grammatical equivalence, textual, pragmatic, stylistic, semiotic, cultural, and so on. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on the grammatical equivalence only. I'm going to focus on the translating tenses, just to show the differences between these two languages under consideration. The second question, what is grammar? Because these are the two concepts or two terms in my title. What is grammar? Grammar has two main dimensions: morphology and syntax. Morphology deals with the structure of single words: present, past, future, single, dual, plural, passive, active, and so on. But syntax, on the other hand, deals with the structure of group of words. So we have clauses, sentences, types of sentences, simple, compound, complex, and so on. So this is the grammar. And grammatical equivalence refers to the diversity of grammatical categories, because we know languages are different in many aspects. So if we take example English and Arabic, and for example in English we have morphological resources to express something called aspects, but in Arabic we don't have it. So therefore, when you translate, you have to do something. You have to manage the text in order to be in line with what? With the target language grammar. If we focus on the grammatical equivalence, of course, if you focus on something else, also you have to focus on something else. This is Baker, 1992, rightly comments, language which have morphological resources for expressing a certain category, such as number, tense, or gender, have to express these categories. But if you translate from that language to another language, you can express it by using lexical items, lexical expressions, but you don't have to. So it's up to you. To be honest, it's not up to you. It's up to the circumstances of the translate. Sometimes you decide, let me insert word to reflect the, let's say, grammatical category, because we don't have it in the target language. So for example, here in English we have morphological resources to express, let's say, the continuity of an action. I'm reading a book. How can we translate it? Anybody can help me to translate this sentence? I'm reading a book.
Yep. Hands up.
Yes, students? Yes, please, Sukaina. أنا أقرأ كتابا. Okay, here when you say أنا أقرأ, I think we can get rid of أنا. When you say أقرأ, fine, but also this is not wrong. When you say أنا, you emphasize. But if, let's say, أقرأ كتابا. Here when you say أقرأ كتابا, we have the tense. What is the tense? It's present. And what is the tense in English? Also present. But in English they have something called aspect. The emphasis on what? The continuity of the action. So in Arabic you could insert words, because we don't have category. You could say الآن, for example. أنا أقرأ كتابا, or without أنا أقرأ كتابا. الآن في هذه الأثناء أقرأ كتابا أو لا أزال أقرأ كتابا, and so on. But here you don't have to. It's up to you. You can insert these words. And yeah, different grammatical structures in the source language and target language may cause remarkable change in the way the information or message is carried across. Yeah, we discussed that. So sometimes as a translator you add, sometimes no, you delete. Sometimes you have to add, you adjust the structure. So it depends on what? It depends on the interfacing language. So as I said, what do you do as a translator? You have to manage the text to be in line with the target language grammar, because we are focusing on the grammar or grammatical equivalence today. So I think as a translator, if you feel that it is important, and then you have to what? You have to take into account the target language grammar. Now let's focus on the topic of today, the tenses. And how do you translate tenses? In any language, as far as I know, we have three main tenses: past, present, and the future. I mean, regardless of the names of these, sometimes in Arabic they say no, we have only two. Doesn't matter, two, but you still have what? You still have three references in relation to time. But some languages have something called aspect, thus having more than these three. So in English they have aspect, in Arabic we don't have it. And then that's why they have 12, but in Arabic we have 3. And when we translate, always we have problem at the level of students, teachers, also professional translators. Now let's compare between tenses and aspects. When we talk about tenses, we normally talk about what? We talk about when an action or an activity happens. But when we talk about aspect, we normally talk about the how the action or an activity happens or occurs. So here I suggested, this is my translation, because we have difficulty to translate aspect, كيفية وقوع الحدث. And here as a translator, you need to elicit, you need to figure out the emphasis. Because sometimes you have present, but the emphasis is not on on something else. That's why we have aspect. While tense refer to when, we explain that. Let's have a look at this example. I drink, I'm drinking, I have drank, and I've been drinking. What is the tense here? Anybody can tell me? What is the tense? Yes, it is a present. But because they have aspects, they have more versions. Now let's focus on the emphasis. Let's focus on the extra information that each sentence tries to deliver to you. I drink. Where is the emphasis here? I think the emphasis is on the frequency of the action as a matter of routine. When we talk about habits, we use that tense in English. But in Arabic, we don't have such an aspect. So therefore, it's up to you as a translator to add some words sometimes. Or no, sometimes they use, even in Arabic, we have, for example, also they classify it into two: morphological tense and syntactic tense. For example, sometimes you say ja'a, what is the tense of جاء? Past. But sometimes جاء, it has a reference to the future. So as a translator, you have to figure out, for example, إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح. Although it is what? It is in the past, but it has a reference to the future, to the afterlife. So this is our duty. I mean, as a translator, this is your duty to figure out the emphasis. And yeah, normally the aspect provide you with extra information, either the emphasis on frequency, continuity, on completion, and so on. According to Sells, 1999, there are 4 types of aspects in English. The first one, simple, and sometimes we call it zero aspect, perfect, progressive, and a combination of perfect and progressive. Java, he said, we can talk about only 2. Only 2, either progressive, we focus on the continuity of the action, or no, the completion of the action. Anyhow, let's start now. We have examples. Look at this text, please. I've highlighted some words. People start smoking, start, think, start, show, start. I mean, what is the tense? The tense is present, simple present tense. But I need to know the emphasis. The first one, I think the emphasis is what they talk about habits, so the frequency of yeah, and the second one. But we have problem with the fourth one. Statistics show. I mean, if we focus on the emphasis here, in my opinion, it is on what? On the completion of the action. Because this statistics, I think, has been already published. So the emphasis here on what? On the completion of the action. Therefore, as a translator, as long as you understand the emphasis on the completion, you have 2 options. Either you stuck to the present, it makes sense when you say تظهر الإحصائيات, or you go for the past and you say أظهرت الإحصائيات. When you go for the past, this is, I mean, the scholar Catford, 1965, also discussed it under the concept shift. And he said we have 2 types of shifts, level shift and category shift. This is one of the category shifts. He called it intra-system shift. Why? Because in Arabic, in the target language, you have 2 options. So here the emphasis, although the verb in the simple present tense, statistics show, but also you have the right sometimes to go for something completely different. Another example, and we need to focus on what? He leaves. What is the tense is easy. Why? Because we have a form of that tense, simple present tense. But what is the emphasis? He leaves. I think the emphasis on what? On the frequency of the action as a matter of routine. Therefore, in Arabic we do have aspect, but you have the right to insert some lexical items or expressions. Here, I suggested we can add عادة ما. إذ عادة ما يترك باب المناورة مفتوحا فهو مرن إلى حد الانتهازية. Where is عادة ما? We don't have it. I mean, as a lexical item in the source text, but no, we have it as aspect in the source language. Another example, كل واحد منهم يحمل فأسا ينزلها علي كلما اقتربت. By the way, اقتربت is there's a I mean misspelling, because this is a فعل خماسي اقترب وبالتالي همزة وصل, and we have this problem at the level of even authors. This is quoted from a well-known author. كلما اقتربت, look at the tense كلما اقتربت in the past, but look at the tenses at the beginning of the example. يحمل present, ينزلها present. So this is our duty to elicit, to figure out the emphasis. Where's the emphasis? I mean, where is the emphasis put in the source text? In particular, the first 2 activities, يحمل and then ينزلها. In my opinion, there is emphasis here. There's implicit كان. كل واحد منهم كان يحمل فأسا. So, I mean, when you read it, of course you have the context and you have the context, and then you try to discover something, then you don't have it on the source text, and then you may suggest something like that. Every one of them was wielding an axe, bringing it down upon me whenever I came close to getting away. And here, also in English, when you translate it into present, you're going to have a problem, present and past, and you may have a problem, I'm not sure, but it is very important for us to know the emphasis. Another example from the same author, كأسماء أخرى والحمى في الرأس والارتجاف, again, ارتجاف, ارتجاف فعل خماسي, يقتلع الجسد. So let's focus on هذا هو حلمي الأول. Here, and in translation, if you don't take into account the aspect, this is my first dream. But again, according to the context, the context, and also if you have a good contrastive competence, I think there's, and this is هو حلمي الأول, هذا هو أو كان هذا هو حلمي الأول. There is also كان. So this is just suggested translation under the class of water, fever in my head, etc. This was my first dream. Where is was? Why you change the tense from present into past? Yes, I have the right. I'm not sure I'm correct or not, but this is my opinion. Yes, I have the right. And